So good. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
14th of July tonight. Not
Yeah.
not tonight, it's tomorrow night, but tonight in Paris, generally the people go dancing when it's not raining, or they go to enjoy the festivities around the Tour Eiffel, the fireworks. Yes, so we
And
try
the
to
fireman
also,
ball, you know,
yes,
the
yes.
dancing balls, yeah.
So we try to be with this event, so we decide to change the identity a little bit and to have the French flag somewhere. So Michael tonight
Yes.
will be our host or the facilitator.
I will facilitate.
Okay, so enjoy your night.
Thank you,
And
Jean-François.
I leave for my weekend and see you next
Okay,
week.
see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Hi, hi everyone, and welcome back at Le Tank for this new talk about graphic design in typography, part of the TypeParis program. And so welcome back online for people on Twitch. Nice to see you at home, and we will welcome two speakers tonight, as usual. And after the talk, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. Our first speaker is Bernard Brechet, who works for Gedeon. So if you are French, you know what Gedeon is. If you are not, or maybe you know, but let me explain. Because when I started working in agencies 20 years ago, it was already something, you know, like Gedeon. They were already specialized, I would say, in brand identity, especially for TV channels. And also they were one of the first agency combining motion design and brand identities. So maybe you can explain that. Maybe it was due to the fact that the customers were TV channels, and then if you display a typography on the TV, it has to move. You know? And I always like to think that with typography, there is motion design by default, which are your eyes, you know, because the eyes are reading. So you are the dictator of the pace, of the rhythm, but with the motion designer combining it with typography, then the motion designer dictates what is the pace, what you should see first and read first. That's why it's so interesting to combine these creative fields. And I think that Bernard this evening, I guess we'll talk about his work, but not only, he also wants to take the opportunity to showcase type in motion, so typography project combined with motion design that he really likes. So I invite you to welcome with a big round of applause Bernard Brechet.
Shall I run the tape? Okay. Sorry, I have to get used to this. Hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to be there. Thank you, Jean-François, for being there. I'm glad. Yes, I'm going to talk about type in motion because I love both. I love typography very much, and I love movement. So don't hesitate to cut me whenever you want to say something or you don't agree or whatever. I'll be glad to answer if I have the answer. So usually in a movie you start with the end, I start with the beginning. The beginning is this. I wish you could see the screen better and my face less, because it's more interesting to see that than me. So it started with movies for me. Truly, I'm a fan of cinema. I was going in the movies wherever I could, whenever I could. So that's the first example of a package with movies. It's called World Movies. So here it's rather simple. It starts with the logotype, which is a zoetrope figure and shape, and it's based on stroke and stripes. And because of that, you can see the whole package works very well to me. It was done by ink, and they used Helvetica, as you have noticed, I guess. Some steel frames. It's very simple, and it goes also off air, because for consistency, when you have some rules, you just apply them everywhere. So movie goes to movement, of course, it's the same route. And movement goes to music, because as you may know, feelings and emotions come from the sound, not from the picture, never. If, for instance, you go back to Vertigo, for instance, from Hitchcock, and you cut the sound from Bernard Herrmann, nothing works. It's still very well cut, but the emotion comes from the sound. And then from music you go to time, because motion design is working, as you said, with pace and time. You make things appear and disappear. And then from time to type. I won't say the whole story of Gedeon. It's an old company. It's 30 years old. I was there in 1995 as a freelance, became creative director, and now I'm the CEO. It's a weird story. If you're interested, just go online. You'll see a bit of that. I consider myself like this. In French, we say ligature. I think it's the same in English. Trying to make bridges between transmitters and receivers, between broadcasters and audiences, and also between content and shapes. I think the world needs people like that very much, trying to see each other, listen to each other. So that's why I'm very pleased to be there, because I'm not a typographer, I just work with type. That's a great name, ligature. We all look for brand new stuff, always. My clients, when they come to us, they expect us to find a new solution for their brand. So it means that we have to be different. So again, if you think about what democracy is, it's to respect the differences. So to mix the difference is at the same time for me positive and negative. I'm interested in the right part of it. I would slide to Jacques Derrida, that I love very much. He's a French philosopher, very well known in the States. This guy talked about a concept that he called parergon, which is Greek. You can say that in a way. I translated it myself. So it says that a parergon is a frame. It's neither inside or outside. It's a supplement called from the lack itself of the work of art. On one hand, it reassures it, it unlocks it in a frame and as strict as possible. It's a neologism, stricture. On the other hand, it produces, but it lacks of purpose, a beauty effect. Actually, the example that he gives, and it's very close to the job I'm doing, it's like when you're in a museum, you look at a very famous painting, you would see the frame, but at the same time you don't see the frame. It just helps to see the painting better. So that's my job. I work for things that disappear. I would show you a few examples. When you have a big plain color plate, it's our work, and otherwise it's the work of others. So the first work I'm going to show is France 4. France 4, it's the tiny channel of France Télévisions. It's oriented to young people, youngsters, and also kids. And we did work with a bunch of people that I love very much called VLF. Now they are, I think, separated. Aude is gone. And I'll show you the demo. There's also an art director in-house, Cédric. Thank you. So it's a funny case story, France 4, because we took some figure that comes directly from the internet culture, the mashup, and we applied it on air and also in print. And it was so powerful that we didn't have to find another solution. We just applied it everywhere, and it worked. So my conclusion, first conclusion, is that a great typeface makes 30, let's say, to 50% for an on-air package. The one we've been using is the circular. It was designed by Lorenz Brunner in Lineto. I would do a kind of Hall of Fame for typographers tonight. Second case is Antenna. Antenna is in Greece. That's a chance for me to be able to work abroad. Like for the last 3 years, we've been doing 50 to 60% abroad with Gedeon, and that's great. I think it's the best way to understand a country or the culture to work there, because people can't hide the bad stuff, and you can also go very quicker to the deep issues. Maximilien Anjou is a freelance designer working with Gedeon for ages now. He's been working on that project. I have a few things to say on that job. Antenna is like M6 in France. It's very commercial channel. They are the leader in the private field. So it means that our work is to work with content that we don't control the quality, let's say. So for instance, on that project, what we did was taking the digital culture with us on board and say that it's not only one screen, it's many screens that you can't see, and they slide with wipes to say that there's always something else after, before, on the top, on the bottom. The type we use is Serra Pro. It was designed by Jacob Runge. Another example, La Sexta is the Spanish channel. That's the team, in-house and freelance. I'll explain that a moment after why we use so many freelancers in our business. Here we had the opportunity to redesign, to fine-tune the logotype, and we changed it from a green shape at the back. We get rid of the shape, just design it with an hexagon for the 6 itself, and it gave us all the logic of angles and strokes. What you see is demo. It means that we just push together all the stuff we're doing. Usually, these elements last 5 seconds to 8 seconds, and they are just cutting things in the flow of a channel. So it's always weird for me to see that amount of on-air design together, because it's like having 3 puddings on a row for 10 seconds. You just have to shout a bit when you do on-air, because otherwise you're stuck. People would get rid of the channel, zap, and go to another one. So you need very strong signs. For instance, La Sexta, we use that type Amasis, because it's a kind of it's Ron Carpenter who designed it. It's a kind of sorry, I forgot the name in typography, slab, because it gives a bit of roundness compared to the angles that we have with the layouts. It gave some fluidity, some softness too, and that was great, because if you know Spain, you can't be radical. You're not in Switzerland, you're not in Germany or Netherlands. Another project, also done by Maximilian. Again, you might notice how important typography is, because as we don't control the content, we don't control the packshot quality unless we control the layout. And most of the time in TV business, the logos of the programs are really weak, very, very bad design. So instead of having a bad logo type on air, we try to push the corporate type anytime we can, to have a more consistent flow and a better quality. Again, it's some little details. If you have noticed this package, it's based on big, bold capitals, bars, and also the round of the Neox logo, the O of Neox. And actually, that's enough. the circle and horizontal bars, yellow and black, and that's it. Why do we try to have so simple rules? It's because we deliver not only a project, we deliver a script project in After Effects. It means that the people in-house would have to use the stuff we are designing to make the TV channel every day. So maybe you have noticed that in your work. If you work with some complicated stuff, you're stuck. If you have to find solutions in a 2-hour session and it's too complicated, you won't find a solution. So we always try to go as simple as we can. And truly, that would be my first and maybe a last lesson. To me, a good design is as simple as you can. When you can't get rid of something else, it's there that you are, and it is there where you should stop. The type used is this one, Proxima Nova, because it has also many weights. Another one, maybe older, OCS, it's the series and movies bunch of channels in France, competitor of Canal+. It was mainly done in-house with Nicolas, our director, and Gaël, freelance again. So again, for that package, we had one idea, having a camera shutter or a range of colors, and with that we could create almost everything. And if you notice the promo system, the trailer, it's usually one big frame, the sequence itself, and then typography on the top of it, plus the logotype. And we try to be the strongest as we can with the very minimum, strict minimum pieces of design. Why is that? Because again, because of the digital culture coming up, people don't want to have some useless ballast on the picture. They want to see full frame movies, and design should survive with almost nothing, you know, no bars, no. You have to let the picture breathe as much as you can. Your designers, and you have recognized that very strong Helvetica again for OCS. It was not our choice, it's their corporate type. And that's the other part of my job. It's we have to create design package based on typography, on layouts, but we also have to do the second part of it called identity modules. And actually, again, the idea was just lying in the brief. OCS have a claim that says, you are fan, so we are. So we just said, okay, just pick up this idea, put some fans and play with them, and we had a bunch of idents very easily. So we did that, and again, from that on-air idea, we did posters, and it works again. I think it works. So why do we use so many freelances? It's because we have many competitors worldwide, and the rule is pitch. We have to work for nothing. I mean, a client would ask 5 very major agencies in UK, in Germany, in France, in the States, for almost nothing, and usually for nothing. And you have to work like an animal for 4 weeks, deliver a huge presentation, all the stuff you're watching. It's what we show when we want to win a pitch. And so I would make a tribute to all my worldwide competitors. They are very, very good agencies, actually. If you look at their website, you'll see how strong they are, and that's the guys we have to compete against. So I'm glad, but it's tough. And because it's not paid, we have to work with freelances, because otherwise I would be trapped with a big team in-house without being able to pay them. So we try to work as a commando. When we have, let's say, France 4 calling us, we say, who shall we work with? And we try to make a tailor-made team to be the strongest as we can. So I'll show you a few samples of work we didn't design, but that I like, and they are, for me, case stories. Comedy Central, it's already 4 years old, I think. It was great. It was done by the lab. ...2011, old stuff, but to me very good yet. Again, it starts with a very simple idea. They decided to change the logotype in that kind of reverted copyright glyph. And from that idea, they had this other idea. I think they look at Mad Men series with that carousel, you know, sequence, very famous. And it gave them their matrix, actually. That matrix was then designed in 3D to have all the contents in tablets, and they, in a way, that was done. That's the system in 3D, and that's the print. And you see they can cope very well between 2D stuff and 3D stuff, because the flow helps to make the connections. Another, let's say, move, because TV channels are becoming poorer and poorer in Europe, and especially in France, because they are afraid of losing the young people that would go on YouTube and on all the digital devices but TV. So it's funny because most of the, let's say, very witty channels, they would go and pick the recipes from the internet. And you see that it was done by the in-house ProSiebenSat.1 in Germany. And you'll see the package, it's very light, it's very thin lines, very thin typography, on sequences with almost nothing else but that. It's obvious. Sorry, it's obvious that everything comes from the digital devices. You're not far from iOS interface, or you could see that in a smartphone in a way, but it goes on air. So it's really funny that before internet was copying what was going on TV, and now it's exactly the contrary. I see that I've been studying from. I've been talking for 32 minutes now. So do you want me to go on, or shall I give the, okay? But where is Alexandra? Okay, so maybe she, hello. Maybe you want me to quit and take the place, no? No, it's okay? You're ready? Okay, I can, let's say, make one or two more comments. There's a break. Okay. The other side of digitalism, but in a way they are close. That's minimalism. Usually UK does that very well. So this is an old package also called More 4. So here you see, it's very tiny typefaces, gray. They don't shout at all. They try to have a kind of respect in the pace of the viewer. So again, it's really interesting to work abroad because of that. If you go to the States, let's say 20 years ago, it was flying saucers in 3D as big logotypes and big effects. And now they come back to 2D flat design. And it's funny to see that, I think. Another example, Pop. It used to be a guide in the States about TV channels, and they created the channels from that guide. That's only typography in a way, this one. There's nothing else. I'm going to accelerate a bit, probably. Yeah, of course, the reference of that work is Barbara Kruger stuff. You know, the industry steals very well what's going on in art galleries, but now also art galleries would go and steal what's going on in the streets. So who steals who? I don't know. I'm going to skip Nick, even if it's great. The thing is that demos are very tiring to watch, I think. No? You're okay? So this is interesting because you can see that type in that examples will package a whole night in a set. It's the awards, and you'll see how crazy stuff they can deliver in the States for that kind of night. It's an interesting approach because it's only black and white, typography, Helvetica again, like New York would do exactly in the underground, in the suburbs, and shapes, and that's it. And they put that very big, and that's it. And this is a kind of joke. It's my final thing before conclusion. It's a demo again about what might the future look like, and to me it's a nightmare. Maybe we'll be excited. enough. In a way, it's at the same time fascinating and to me completely frightening. I remember a strip I've seen in an American newspaper, and it was 2 strips of drawings, a cartoon, and first line was 15 years ago, or let's say 25 years ago, and you had a musician, a carpenter, a baker, an accountant, a designer, and they were wearing different clothes, doing different gestures, and the second strip was the same jobs, and the drawing was repeated 10 times. It was a guy with a computer. And I'm afraid of that. I think if human beings still have 2 hands, 10 fingers, feet, I think they should use them a bit more. I love also another philosopher called Roland Barthes, and he's talking about projecting your body into what you're doing. And I don't think we project that much with such a tool. So I'm a rather old man now, but I'm a very young father. I got a 9-month kid, and I don't want him to face that kind of world in the future. Maybe type computers would help us to live in a way better, but I'm not that sure, because I think what has changed very much with the digital age, it's much bigger than what happened with Gutenberg. It's speed. Now, people get impatient after 20 minutes when you don't call them back. And I think that there's a danger there. So I would finish with a Groucho Marx quote that I like very much, saying, facing that very complicated world, maybe we should come back to simple stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we still have time for some questions. Yeah. So if you want to take the opportunity to ask some questions to Bernard, this is time. No? Anyone? I have some if you don't. I have some. Yeah?
You talked briefly about, I guess, getting more work. Would you define yourself as an interface designer, or where do you see your work going in the future if that's irresponsible and maybe also less commonly required in on-air packages like you've been showing? Thanks.
Let's say that when I started this job 25 years ago, there were a vertical silo. There was print, there was advertising, and then the web appeared. And it was again silos. And if you want to propose your services in the industry and you go and see special agencies that would say, Gedeon, where are you? Ah, you're not digital. No, you're not doing advertising. You're not a design bureau. Say, what the fuck is this? I don't think that there are borders anymore. So I think if you are able to think first, and that you can handle different tools, you're curious enough to get interested into music, movement, typography, art, whatever, you would find a job everywhere. So my job has been changing very much. It's still exciting because of that, because I don't know what tomorrow is. If tomorrow is that, welcome to Gattaca place that we just saw, I'm afraid. And maybe then I become a baker. I don't know.
What you will do in 10 years as a baker? You will use a laptop?
3D printed bread. Work.
It's funny, again, I'm going to talk about myself. I have a pain, very bad pain in my back, because it's 25 years that I'm seated at my desk. And I have also problems there, because I don't move my hands enough. So again, I think that if you want to be a happy man or woman, you should eat well, sleep well, use your body, use your mind, use your feelings and your emotion. What I don't like in the work field, let's say, is that I work with trust. If I'm invited to work for someone, I would trust the brief. I would trust the guy. And now what has changed is that it starts with the contrary. In French we say défiance against confiance. So I don't know what is the contrary in English, but I hope that we would come back to trust again. And I don't know, I suffer a bit right now actually working in this field. I think there's too much violence, too much unsaid, too much lack of listening and true talking. So it's glad that you can talk and ask questions. I'll be glad to answer.
Anyone? I have one for you, maybe, about the project life, because especially compared with classic graphic design, when you have to work on the brand identity of a TV channel, for instance, so sometimes they call you just for a logo, but then you realize when you look at the project that everything has to be inside the logo, like the entire idea of how it will move and how the content will fit and everything. So what is the first stage, when a customer calls you, and what do they want?
Again, I know it's going to be online everywhere, so I should not say the truth in a way, but usually the brief is empty, and you know that already. So it means you have to dig into it to find something. And what they want is to find a solution. They have a problem, they want you to find a solution. So what we do usually is to try to dig as much as we can in what they have. To me, a designer is both a shrink and a doctor. You have to say, lay down, please. This hurts, right? And this is good, this is healthy. So I'm going to take that healthy part to build the whole process. And sometimes the logo is really bad because it was decided by the dog of the woman or whoever, because they have no clue about what design is. And so maybe we have the chance to redesign it, and that's much easier. But sometimes you have to start with a very weak first central point. And we have developed a kind of methodology in Gedeon based on a figure called a mandala. Mandala, it's Indian, and they do also that in Tibet. It's a crazy habit that they have, the monks. They would draw with colored sands. So we start with, let's say, a first drop, which is the logo just in the center. And then we would do circular waves, saying that everything belongs to the same scheme. If we have been asked to redesign, let's say, a web banner, I would try to make a link with the whole process, saying that everything is a part of the major scheme. If you look at nature gives the rules. If you throw a stone in a lake, you would see the waves, the way it works. I think that oriental model is much better than an Excel X and Y,
And I've read in your biography that you are very influenced by India, so you travel there.
Yeah, I had the chance to, when I was doing print, I did silk screen printing in India, and yeah, it's a crazy country. It's
for us.
For us.
For French people.
When you come back, I remember I was reading a book at the end of that travel, and it was done by an Englishman. He said, India, no full point. You can't sum up India. Just enter a world and you're lost. Like outside, actually.
And maybe one more advice for, Jean-François, you want to?
Or you select a typeface for a project, It seems that there is some graphic designer who love typeface, so they bought typeface. They don't know what they will do with them. On one day they find a use, on other because another agency specifies the typeface, so they use it, and they don't know even that the typeface, they have to buy the license or whatever. That's the two kind of things. And after, there is probably people who begin to work on try to find the best typeface, or you deal with that?
Usually, as I said in a previous plate, I said that 50% of the work could be done by a good typeface. So what we look for is the functionality. For instance, the Greek project, we needed something very good in Cyrillic, and I think Alexandra is going to talk very much about that. Yeah, the Greek Cyrillic, the Greek version. And when we started to use that typography, we say it works, it fits each time. We were doing long titles, short titles, big, small, and it was resisting every time. So that was the way we were dealing with it. Having one type only, but with something like 25 weights, very powerful, but very consistent. And that's why usually we ask the client to buy it. Because usually, again, they think you just have to open one, that it's free, and that's it. No, you have to explain that it's a job to design a typeface, and you have to respect it. Yes, when we select the typeface rather at the beginning, when we think about logo type as, let's say, the center of the mandala, the second row would be the major items for the design layouts. So it's going to be color, so we look for a color palette, a kind of iconography, a kind of music or bass, and a kind of typography. It goes very, very at the first round. It depends. For instance, when I was talking about La Sexta, we said, okay, it's going to be very geometric, but because it's Spain, we have to find a kind of counterpoint with the typography. So we skipped the lineals, went to something else, and found the amasis that we knew already because we were using it already. It's each time a solution.
This is just an extension to what we were just talking. Like you said, you picked the typeface in the beginning, but what is the criteria like? Is it the budget or is it your choice?
Okay, in Gedeon we are 2 partners. We used to be 4, now we are only 2. The other one is Emmanuelle. She's a producer, as you say in the States. She deals with the brief, with the client, with the quality of the creation, and with the money. So money is part of it for sure. So yeah, it's a kind of balance between the impact in terms of functionality and aesthetics, but also how much does it cost and how many stations would you have to implement. Of course, it's both. It's applied arts, what we're doing. And applied says that there's some money somewhere.
Okay, maybe one more question, because when you said like you are the pitch and we have a very young audience and we are in a co-working space environment with a lot of freelancers, and even you at Gedeon, which is a renowned agency, you know, on this field, even in the world, you still need to find the energy, you know, to pitch a project, work for 4 weeks, sometimes for free. So
most of the time for free.
So how do you find this energy? Is it just being passionate?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think you can still wake up and go to work if you think you're useful. And if you think that what you do is honest and do the job. And sometimes when I'm in tender a meeting and I see how much money costs that meeting because I've got one CEO there, one COO there, a marketing director or a communication director, and say, okay, this meeting costs, I don't know, 20,000 euro for that result, which is nothing. Okay, sometimes I go back and say, maybe I'm going to be a baker. I love my job, truly. I love my job, but you know, or you will know soon, it's tough to work in the creative field. It's tough because it means that you are sensitive in a way. You look for things that people won't care about, and you have to sell that, and that's the point. You are an expert. You spend hours, years watching movies, going to art galleries, picking up details in the streets. So you are an expert, but for them you're not, because this is the expert. They would say, bah, it's a plug, or it's a soft, or it's a type. Just use it. If I have the time to do it, I would do it myself. And I remember in a meeting in France Télévisions, there was a problem with the major logo process, because we did design the logos of France Télévisions, and the guys told me, I've got a problem there with that logo. What would you do? And I couldn't shut my mouth. So I say, I would do that. And I did a sketch. He'd say, and I was with my other partner at the time. And so the client said, look, Christophe, you can't ask me to spend 20,000 euros for that. He did that in 20 seconds. And hopefully, both we had the same idea. They said, yes, you just bought 20 years of experience.
You join me. Thank you. Thank you, Bernard.
Thank you.
Yeah.